Once again, welcome to another episode of Eclectica. So, today I am here with you all with our very special guest who is a pioneer in oral cancer research. And I'm sure we all know his name being into the profession and into oral healthcare research. He is none other than Dr. W.M. Tilakaratne sir from University of Malaya. So I am very happy that we got sir today here. And let me, before calling in sir, I will just introduce and tell about sir. I know it's a I have to make his introduction brief because he has so many accomplishments and so many firsts in his bag that I think we can, just for introduction, I can speak more than an hour about him. Well, so presently, sir is professor of oral pathology at University of Malaya, Malaysia, and also he is senior professor of OP University of Pardenia, Sri Lanka. He has been the immediate past president of International Association of Oral Pathology, and he is a visiting professor to many universities in different countries all over the world. And whenever we talk about oral cancer or pre-cancer conditions, especially a particular condition that is called as oral submucous fibrosis, I think with OSF research, sir's name goes hand in hand. So, sir, I welcome you to Eclectica's episode, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to have a conversation with you today. Thank you for
Thank
joining
you
me
for
here today.
thank you for inviting me, Ravi.
Thank you, sir. And sir, first of all, I would like to know how are your days going on, and how are you?
I'm okay that we are also more or less in a lockdown in Malaysia, so we don't have much teaching or service function as such, but have enough time for the family and also for the backlog academic work.
Right. So, okay, sir, coming into the conversation and not wasting much time. First, I would like to ask you because you are a pioneer in oral cancer, and we have learned only from you a lot of things from you. And whenever we search something, one or the other paper with your name comes up in the list of publications. That helps us in our understanding. But since I got you here today, and particularly this platform of Eclectica is more about public awareness. So, sir, I would like you to tell our viewers that like how does a person understand if particularly he or she is developing any symptoms of oral cancer for that matter? Are there any ways that a person can identify?
Yes, that's a good question, Gaju. Now, before anything else, now we need to understand the fact that oral cancer is one of the commonest, if not the commonest, cancer in our part of the world, that is South Asia. Especially in countries like Sri Lanka, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. Among men, oral cancer is the number one ranked cancer. So that is something that we need to know. Why oral cancer has become common in this part of the world? That is nothing else but the habit of betel chewing. Betel chewing means chewing with areca nut and tobacco. We know for a fact those two ingredients in the betel quid are definitely carcinogens. They both contain hundreds of carcinogens. Now imagine people, mostly from poor socio-economic backgrounds, indulging
Right.
with hundreds of carcinogens. Now luckily, now oral cancer is the cancer which does not arise overnight. A vast majority of oral cancer, especially in South Asia, preceded by a pre-cancer, or we call oral potentially malignant disorder. Over 80% of them do that. So therefore, that signs and symptoms are there inside the mouth in most patients for years. You see, again, oral cavity or the mouth is one place where any human being would look at least once a day, irrespective of your socio-economic background. So therefore, any change in the oral cavity, any layman, even without good education background, should be able to recognize. Because if you look at other cancers like lung, liver, the colon, the any other part of the GI tract, you can't see them unless they come to a late stage and start showing signs and symptoms. The patient can't understand. Now, well, back into your question. Now, as I said earlier, most of these cancers are preceded by OPMD or pre-cancer. The patient himself or herself can recognize them. Now, there are different ways of presenting either oral pre-cancer or early cancer. It can be non-healing ulcer. It can be an alteration of the mucous membrane, the surface of the oral cavity, cracked appearance, a white patch, a red patch, red and white patch, small lump, small growth. All those things are signs and symptoms of early cancer and pre-cancer. So if a patient can recognize them at a very early stage, at the stage of pre-cancer, the cure is almost guaranteed. Now, unfortunately, more than 70% of cancers in this part of the world come to hospitals to clinicians at last stage. We call them stage 3 and stage 4. Then whatever you do, they do not live more than 5 years, 50% of them. So that is the reality. So if you can identify those features I said, in addition to that, we need to remember this deadly disease called oral submucous fibrosis. Millions of people having this condition in India and other South Asian countries, and to some extent some Southeast Asian countries. Now the features of this condition are slightly different. Now they can't open their mouth properly, they can't move the oral structures, especially they can't move the tongue. The appearance of the texture of the oral mucosa or the surface of the mouth is completely altered. Sometimes it is rough, sometimes it is very thick, like almost like cement. So the whole appearance of the oral cavity changes. There is taste sensation is lost, and various other problems. They can't swallow food properly because they can't open the mouth. Now, when these features are there, I think they should go to a dentist or a medical officer, because 7% of these patients also end up with cancer. Now, even without getting cancer, if they go to the advanced stage of submucous fibrosis, that is enough for them to have a very poor life, because the morbidity is so high, the complications coming from that pre-cancer alone without going into cancer is not compatible with life.
Right, sir. I think that was wonderful insights that we heard right now. And in between, I would like to tell the viewers that if you have any questions in your mind, you can write it in the comment section, and we will get back to you with the answers and after the session. Sir, what would be your suggestions, or what would you suggest as the probable possibilities of preventing oral cancer in that way? Because as you said that, rightly said that early diagnosis or early detection would help to absolutely cure that disease. So what would be the probable possibilities to prevent oral cancer in that way?
Well, now it is again at an advantage compared to most other cancers in the human body, where we do not know what causes them. We don't know the real etiological agent for it. a lot of cancers in the human body. But for the oral cancer, we know the etiological factors, we know the risk factors, we know the predisposing factors. So therefore, it is very easy to prevent if the people are motivated enough. Now, what are the main etiological factors? Well, as I said earlier, betel chewing. In that betel chewing, we have two main carcinogens that are responsible for oral cancer. That is tobacco, that form we call smokeless tobacco, and we have arecanut in that. They both have numerous amount of carcinogens. Now, if you take smokeless tobacco alone, there are 28 different types of carcinogens. If you take arecanut, there are 4 identified very dangerous carcinogens. Now, there are 2 main factors. Now, we should not forget, although we say smokeless tobacco is dangerous, smoking is even more dangerous because it causes not only oral cancer, it is the main reason for lung cancer. So, smoking, 2 causes oral cancer. So therefore, the smoking tobacco in the form of smoking or smokeless tobacco and arecanut and various other reasons are also there. Of course, when the person is malnourished, the immune system is not very good. So they are predisposed to because the immunity against carcinogens is not there. So therefore, they are predisposed to get it. And on top of those habits that I mentioned, we know a lot of people consume alcohol. Alcohol
Yes.
alone does not cause oral cancer. But when alcohol is taken together with arecanut or with tobacco, it certainly can synergize or enhance the carcinogenic potential of carcinogens present in arecanut and tobacco. So that we need to remember. But of course, there are other things like UV light from sunlight, the HPV, fungal infections like candidiasis, they all are responsible for oral carcinogenesis. But we need to remember in South Asia, the most important carcinogens causing this massive problem are tobacco, especially smokeless tobacco, together with smoking and arecanut. Those are the 2 main things that we need to. So therefore, the people should be aware because both these things you indulge. So you need to have the
Correct.
motivation by looking at this very common oral cancer, not to indulge in these habits. Now there is another problem where we have been seeing oral cancer among young people in South Asia increasing all the time. The reason behind that is again we see various different brands, hundreds of different brands of commercially available areca and smokeless tobacco products are coming, mainly from India. Now, some of those brands are banned in India, but they now go very freely into neighboring countries as well. So therefore, the oral cancer in young is becoming a problem. That is mainly because of these commercial products of smokeless tobacco and areca. So if our people can have the motivation and the correct education and correct attitude towards these dangerous carcinogens, smokeless tobacco, smoking and marijuana, I think we will be able to see the oral cancer incidence going down in this part of the world. But unfortunately, at the moment, it is not the case.
Yes, sir. As you rightly said, so I think to prevent oral cancer, as you rightly said, the etiology of oral cancer is very much known. So habit intervention would be one of the most easiest way to prevent this, to get into this dreadful disease even. So, and as you rightly said that the tobacco products, yes, that is one, one aspect people have been working long, but I think I don't know how much you have achieved, but yes, oral cancer awareness about these things, the things that you told, the very important points that you told, I think it will, at least people who are listening to us would be very useful for them to understand that it's very easy actually to prevent oral cancer just by stopping and not getting into the habits like, as you mentioned about having betel nut, areca nut, or smokeless tobacco, or smoking even, and alcohol. So, sir, as you said in like few minutes back that, and we also know that oral cancer is one of the commonest cancer in Southeast Asia. So, since I am always have an inquisitiveness towards research, and you being oral cancer researcher, so I would like to know from you that is there enough research taking place in this area at present?
Well, again, when we take we need to reiterate this fact. Oral cancer is the commonest cancer in Sri Lanka and also in neighboring countries, at least in males. Now, we need to look at, compared to the high prevalence and incidence of oral cancer, whether the amount of research that are being carried out is adequate. If you ask me that question, my answer is a big no. This oral cancer is the number one ranked cancer, at least in males. Now we should be focusing more on oral cancer. Because oral cancer, unlike most other cancers in the human body, the treatment is very costly. Surgical treatment takes so much of time.
Right.
Advanced cancer with reconstruction takes about 20 hours in total for microvascular reconstruction and to get the patient back to normal. So therefore, we need to understand we need more and more research to identify appropriate treatment modalities for patients in South Asia. Now, we need to remember this as any researcher, when they look at into oral cancer, now please remember, oral cancer that we are talking about in South Asia is not the same oral cancer that we are talking about in the West or in America. So their etiology is different. Therefore, the pathogenesis may also be different. Various molecules which mediate carcinogenic pathway may be different. And more importantly, the environment, the microenvironment of humor in our patients is definitely different. Why? Because I told you large majority of these patients have oral submucous fibrosis and their underlying connective tissue is not as same as a patient from the West. So this fibrotic background, suffering in this fibrotic background, we can presume behave in a different way. They getting into blood vessels, so lymphatics may be different from those patients who do not have fibrosis in the underlying tissue. But unfortunately, we do not have much research about the behavior, combining that with pathology and molecular biology to see exactly what is happening in our patients. That's a big research gap.
Correct, sir.
So what is the consequence of that? Now, all our treatment protocols, in most places in South Asia also, use treatment protocols coming from the West and coming from America. What is the disadvantage of that? Because most of these treatment guidelines protocols are done according to the research findings from their patients. There is nothing wrong with that. They are excellent for their patients. But for our patients, I think we need to identify really what is happening in our patient, what is the pathogenesis, how if the cancer advances towards the advanced stage, how does it go to other parts of the body, lymph nodes, etc. What are the mechanisms in the background of this massive fibrosis? I think once we get that kind of research data from our patients, I think we can combine the guidelines coming from rest of the world and we can refine them. We can fine-tune those guidelines using our findings. Now that is a big research gap. I think that is what young researchers should embark on, especially the carcinogenesis occurring in the backgrounds of submucous fibrosis. I'm sure we can give a better hope for those patients. The progression, so I experience, the progression of cancers in these patients is not as quick as in other patients. So therefore, we have a chance. So if our younger researchers can come up with good research in order to identify the behavior of those cancers, I think we can combine those into treatment guidelines, of course, coming from other parts of the world. We can fine tune those guidelines and we can apply what is appropriate for our patients using research findings from this part of the world. I think that is the way forward. That should happen. I'm sure the young dentists who are into research and the young medics who are into research and also molecular biology people should get this information and start doing research, the more importantly, translational research in neurocancer and through cancer in South Asia. So that's very important. If you have to expect better 3 year survival, better 5 year survival rate from oral cancer patients, I think that is the way forward.
Thank you, sir. That was a wonderful insight from you, and definitely, as you said, that research in this aspect, but pertaining to our population, is very, very important, so that we can come up with the fine-tuned guidelines, as you rightly said. Sir, recently, since now is this COVID situation, COVID-19, recently I was just seeing through the internet some news that smokers are more vulnerable to COVID-19 infection. So, what is your personal perspective regarding this? Whether it is a myth or, I mean, it's a fact.
It is a fact. Actually, it's a fact. Why it is a fact? We know the COVID-19 is basically an infection of mostly upper respiratory tract and the lower respiratory tract later on. Now, in chronic smokers, we know the whole respiratory tract is disease. That's as simple as that. Now, the protective mechanisms are not there. You start from the upper respiratory tract, the ciliary action would prevent all the unnecessary things going into lungs is not there, they are destroyed. And also the inside the lung, the whole particle is altered with the smoking. And large majority of these patients who do smoke, they have chronic obstructive airway disease. Now, like bronchitis, emphysema, etc. So when somebody has those diseases, the pre-existing diseases, any infection can precipitate very easily. It doesn't have to be COVID, even any bacterial infection. These patients are people who smoke for a long period of time are predisposed to get any bacterial or viral infection. COVID-19 is of no difference. It is a very virulent organism. We know that. So therefore, it has a better chance of getting into lung and make a home there and destroying it. So therefore, establishing pneumonia is exceptionally high in chronic smokers. So that is why the COVID-19 patients, the victims who are chronic smokers, get pneumonia very quickly and it is very difficult to manage as well. So therefore, the advice is the smoking is not only for the oral health, but it is even more important, especially smoking, not to smoke plus tobacco, it's more important to have a better healthy life, including lungs and all other organs. Now we need to remember the fact that smoking is something which can cause alterations, diseases, cancer from hair of on the top to the toe of the feet. Every single cell, every single tissue, every single organ in the human body can be affected, can get disease by smoking. So that's very important. And because we are talking about SLT, now a lot of people may think smoke plus tobacco, yeah, we are just chewing it and we get problems in the mouth. No, it causes cancers in the pancreas. That is proven. Pancreatic cancers are associated with smoke plus tobacco. And various other diseases, even recovering from other diseases like tuberculosis and they are more prone to get ischemic heart diseases, even smokeless tobacco. So therefore, the effects are there in smokeless tobacco as well. But yes, smoking is bad. Now, if we have a smoker, chronic smoker, once they get COVID-19 infection, the outcome is going to be very poor.
Okay, sir. So I think it was a wonderful session from you, and it was wonderful talking to you. And thank you for joining me here today. And I hope that in near future with Eclectica, I will call you again and again to give to get more insights into dental research or oral healthcare research and other aspects related to cancer and precancerous conditions. So I hope that all things get over very soon, and we will all be back very soon in our normal days. And thank you once again, sir, for joining me. Thank you so much. Thank you.
It is my pleasure. Thank you very much for inviting me. I hope with this discussion, young researchers will get some benefit, and also the public and medical and dental professionals will get some knowledge about how to deal with the cancer. Thank you.
Right, sir. Right. Thank you, sir. So that was a mind-blowing session from Tilakaratne sir, as usual. So that's all for today, and I will again be back with another fascinating personality in with another area of very interesting field of science, technology, or fashion. Let me see whom I bring to you in the next episode. Till then, be positive and be calm. Bye.